When I was 20, I went camping with some friends of mine. We spent a weekend sleeping in tents, roasting marshmallows, and shitting in holes. At one point, I remember I was smoking a joint with a guy who set the whole trip up. We were walking in the woods, watching where we stepped, and he started telling me about a near death experience he had. He told me how awful it was being in the hospital for so long and how long his recovery process was. But he also told me how the actual dying part was the most at peace he'd ever been. I remember a lot of the stupid things my friends tell me, but one of the things that sticks out in my mind the most clearly is when he asked me with 100% sincerity, "What's the worst that can happen? You die?"
Excuse me.
Yes, my son?
I am told you know everything.
Are you seeking the secret of existence?
That will do for a start.
The secret of existence is to disdain earthly ties, shun the illusion of material worth, and seek oneness with the infinite.
You know, the ultimate fate of the universe is so dark and mysterious that it generates butterflies in my stomach, and that goes to tickles in my spine, and that creates goose pimples, and then that penetrates my mind, and then the whole Big Bang is what...
That's what I've been waiting for.
So the root chakra to the crown chakra, 144, the 144,000 go to heaven. This is a frequency, this is a vibration. You gotta raise your vibrational frequency. The whole point is to raise your vibration. You have this kundalini energy that falls and goes back up. Depending on your hormones, you have the sun and you have the moon. You have the Horus's eye and you have the moon. Horus, moon, hormones. And then just like how women have a menstrual cycle, men have a cycle too. You have
The word Kabbalah, for example, you know what that means? It just means tradition. That's what tradition means.
Amazing.
The word occult, what does the word occult mean? The word occult means secret. It's the same word, it's a synonym to the word, for example, mystery.
God is dead, and I'm gay.
That jump is anticipated in all of the great ideologies. In Islam, in Christianity, in Buddhism, they tell you this. It's an illusion, but you have to participate as if it is real. You have to find the beauty in it. You are creating reality while you're living it. You are God.
New Age spirituality, along with most modern variants of the occult, are on a spectrum. They can range anywhere from me and my friends used a Ouija board one time at Halloween, and something told us pee pee poo poo. And well, you know, we did. To, yeah, I started an OnlyFans because the mushrooms told me to. Whatever it is, its modern prevalence can probably be tied in some way to what Terence McKenna, one of the fathers of the New Age movement, would have called the archaic revival. This trend away from scientific and materialistic worldviews, back to those things that have provided society with meaning since time immemorial. And by that, of course, he mainly meant drugs. While the McKenna brothers get a lot of praise these days for their ideas, I personally don't think that one was such a hot take. See, humans have always had an edgy, contrarian nature, where we want hidden, esoteric knowledge for no other reason than just to have it. And mystery cults and secret societies have always been a thing. But I don't know if it's, the lockdowns or something new in the fluoride, but it seems like they're getting a lot more unhinged lately.
We were all in heaven at one point, and just like Lucifer falling in love with himself and getting kicked out of heaven and fell in consciousness, we fell in consciousness. So we fell in consciousness. Now the only way we can get back up there is if we rise through love, and that was the only way to bring our consciousness back up. These stories are about us. We were in heaven. This is the key there. We were in heaven. We fell in consciousness down to Malkuth, which is earth. But how do we rise in consciousness? Matthew 10:16, we need to be innocent as doves, but wise as serpents. That's because the snake goes up to be an eagle.
Maybe it's the proliferation of this material over the internet, or maybe it's just the general chaotic nature of the stuff, but there's a lot of subcategories of New Age thinking. Whether it's magic with a K, Wicca, alchemy, or whatever your hot ex-girlfriend specifically practiced. So if I say something and you think, that doesn't sound right, you're probably not wrong. Generally though, you have your two main groups, the right-hand path and the left-hand path, the sun or the moon, Apollo or Dionysus, dayman versus nightman. Imagine people on one side who think salvation is impossible unless we work really, really hard for it, and on the other, people who think it's just impossible and, maybe not even desirable. The right-handed people tend to be more outwardly pious, trying to game God for his blessings. The left-handed path people, they're into the cool stuff, sex magic and hexes, all that Scooby-Doo nonsense. Again, this is all general, and a lot of people mix and match traditions and recite different rites for different rituals. Or I'm sorry, reenactments for the Freemasons out there. It's for just a social scene, bro. But these are your classes. You have your Discordians, Dionysian drunks versus Apollonian alpha males, your chaotic or evil D&D aligned characters versus the lawful ones, pagan priests versus zealous Jesuits or Jewish Zionists. Whatever side you pick, this is the door that leads to occultism, the modern Eleusinian mysteries that teach you how to transcend your mortality and become enlightened.
It's all a story created by you to keep me here. But that's not going to work any longer. I'm getting out.
Have you ever questioned the nature of your reality? Wait for it. Okay now.
It's all a story.
Me and my friends used to feed LSD to this little retarded girl in our neighborhood, and we'd lock arms around her and go, nightmare, 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 nightmare.
Have you ever questioned the nature of your reality? Wait for it.
Okay.
We'll be right back.
According to most of the Masonic media I've absorbed, there used to be an ancient civilization that was very advanced and had the true religion. But something happened to them and they fell. Fortunately though, because they were so Chad-like and conquered most of the known world, they were able to leave behind some clues for big-brained descendants to decipher. But, only if their bloodline is pure. If it's not, you're just not gonna get it. Sorry bud, you should have been born Jewish. No, not those Jews, the real Jews. No, not those Jews, the real Jews. No man, I said the real Jews. But I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself here. Let's go back and talk about Helena Blavatsky, a Russian woman who left Russia in the 1800s to go learn about mysticism. I'm sure a lot of you know about her already or have seen her really neat seal before. But if you're not familiar, let me read to you the 3 core tenets of Theosophy as outlined in the membership page of her lodge. First, to form the nucleus of a universal brotherhood of humanity, without distinction of race, creed, sex, caste, or color. Second, to encourage the study of comparative religion, philosophy, and science. Third, to investigate unexplained laws of nature and the powers latent in humanity. If these ideas don't sound too foreign to you, That's in large part thanks to her and how successful she was. She talked to spirit guides and popularized ideas like the Akashic Records and Kundalini Yoga. Obviously, these ideas have been around for a long time, but she was the first to go to as great lengths as she did to make connections between widespread forms of spirituality. She traveled around Asia and even was the first one to use the term left-hand path. I'm sure you've heard metaphysical conversations about how positive thinking and the law of attraction can heal you. I'm sure you know a white girl who burns incense and has a tarot deck. I don't really have a problem with anyone like that. Crystals are pretty after all. I don't agree with it as a spiritual practice, but let's take a little bit of a deeper look at how we got here. The Theosophical Society itself was founded in 1875, the same year Aleister Crowley and Carl Jung were born. Then 12 years later, Nietzsche said that God was dead. 5 years after that, in 1887, the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn was formed, and a year after that, Helena Blavatsky published The Secret Doctrine. Everything's connected, and that's an idea that we'll get back to later. But when Paul, in his letter to the church at Ephesus, said that, right now we're blown about by the winds of doctrine, I felt that. Even in the relative calm of a specific denomination, there's still just a storm blowing. But, maybe you're not Christian. In which case, have you guys ever noticed that our place in the universe is so mysterious to us still? What's the deal with dinosaur bones, am I right? Are we just evolved monkeys with no real separation from animals, except for those that we've made up ourselves? Or hold on, I got it. We evolved because of some higher power. God helped it along, or if not that, maybe some aliens were meddling around with our DNA. Have you guys ever heard of Zachariah Stitchin? There's a lot of unexplained mysteries about life, but more important than the question of where did we come from is the more personal question of what do we do about it? Or, in the words of Space Dandy,
how do I live my life? That's the question of the hour.
Aren't asking that and how to die when life is over the same thing?
Course not. And who wants to ask about dying? Stuff like that's a waste of breath, I say.
Want or not better as well you can, because it will happen to all.
I'm just saying, if I get preoccupied with it, then I might as well keel over right now.
Holding death at a coward's distance does not allow it a spot in your mind. Mortal you are, time to come to better terms with your fate.
No, that's crazy.
Entropy is the end of all creatures left into their own devices. Death is our lot, and the lot of everyone that we hold dear. So think or do not think about the end of your own life. Anon it comes to you, so take your pleasure while you may.
How do we live our lives? The best you can, obviously. To most people, it seems like such a simple and well-known thing. I think a lot of people who aren't religious would hear me talk and think, what's the big ideal? We only get one life and, I'm not hurting anyone, so leave me alone. People say that our consciousness has tainted us with the fear of our own mortality, and, it's that fear that limits us from fully experiencing, enjoying, and loving life in all of its forms. Because, we realize not only how cruel and violent the world is, but also how flawed each of us are individually. So people see this and, try to cope with it with drugs and sex, or they chase power and try to control the circumstances of life as much as possible. After all, maybe it is all just a coincidence and we're just floating through the abyss randomly. There is no answers. If you're like that, you might look at religion as a beneficial fiction, something humanity needed for a time to keep the peace and provide structure, but ultimately either a lie or only an incomplete picture.
Visionary thinkers like me and Carl Jung are blessed with this ability to see into the astral plane. We can see into Plato's world of forms. We can see this imaginary world, the world of meditation, the half-world of death. And the problem with you as a normie is that you can't see this. And so we have this ability to see divinity. We have this ability to see higher consciousness, higher morality, ideals. We have this ability to see ourselves beyond the fallen nature of man. But you are a fallen barbarian. you don't see this stuff, you don't think this way. You have this propensity to go downwards and just stuff your face with McDonald's and think about your dick all the time and be violent and be evil. And so the problem that we have is that we need to fix you, we need to redeem you, we need to lift your nose off the ground and get you to see higher consciousness and see divinity. But it's very, very hard to do this because your minds are darkened, your minds are shut. So what we have done is we've invented a tool to mind fuck you into being a good person, and we call that religion. So what we need to do is get you to think about the consequences of your actions. We need to show you that when you die, when you lie down and you think, your consciousness goes over your life, you're going to have all these dreams, you're going to have all these memories floating into your mind. And if all your memories are just you sitting down watching video games and porn and being a coomer and just like jacking off the whole time, you're going to be depressed. You're going to be stuck in a perpetual hell. You're going to get that dose of DMT where your astral plane, you're going to get your spirit's going to be sent into the astral plane, and it's just going to be all these horrible memories of you being a freak, you being a weirdo, you being a coomer, you being something pathetic. And that's what hell is. Then you get sent straight to hell and you're depressed for all of eternity, and Satan goes around and he like plays porn of you being a loser all the time. We don't want that to happen to you, and we need to teach you that these type of consequences exist, and we need to show you this through the stories of religion.
Do you guys ever feel like George from They Live? Rhetorical question. Of course you do. You're not still watching this channel unless you're off your meds. You've already watched a conspiracy theory or two. I hate using the pill meme still, but I feel like I have a pretty black-pilled audience. I guess what I'm asking is, considering Nickelodeon is a kids' media company, rehires people from the sex offender registry over and over again, did a bunch of pedophiles get together and start making cartoons? And if so, how many other organizations are there like that? I don't know. I don't have the blueprints to show you what the exact structure of corruption looks like. I'm pretty sure it has something to do with Freemasonry, right? I think most sane people would say, yeah, there's a deep state, but the shape of it is really hard to make out. Like, they're not all trying to get you to worship the devil, right? Besides, the devil's not even real, right, bucko? More of a Jungian archetype. Yeah, way more of a Jungian archetype.
Carl Jung spent years talking to entities of his imagination, documenting that in books like the Red Book. He made that a visionary practice and had illuminating conversations with specters of his own imagination. But of course, he also believed that there was a collective element to those. And so you might say that, well, to the degree, for example, that we're each inhabited by dark impulses, we might say, well, we're each prey to the same demonic forces. But then I would also ask, in your investigations, your long-term investigations of multiple ayahuasca experiences across different people, are there any commonalities of entities that strike you as particularly significant? I know people talk about clown figures, for example, mechanical clowns in the DMT state, and
elf machines and this sort
elves.
of thing.
Yeah, exactly. The elf machines. And of course, that's complicated too, because once one person starts talking about it, that might increase the probability that other people would experience it. But have you seen commonalities of entity experience that would suggest the existence of something that is at least transpersonal, even though it might also still be subjective, whatever that means in such a context?
Yes, I have, and I think this exists in these shamanic traditions.
Why do things have to be the way they are? You don't know, do you?
Not exactly. The whole thing is meant to be a mystery, see?
Oh, then I will ask you a simpler question.
Hey, how do you feel about the current socioeconomic climate in America? These people believe that failure is not their own and somehow inflicted upon them by the universe. No, that is a deficit in your cognitive ability, something that likely plagues you in every aspect of your life. In summary, you've got a smooth brain and a low IQ. Your fate is to be a grunt in the New World Order.
Oh, you think the world works this way? Well, what if it worked like this?
I think the world goes a little something
like this.
I love the devil. I was just thinking of talking to the demons.
Brother, can we not? The circle is complete.
There are other matters that are far more deserving of our concern.
Our only desire is the true Evangelion. Its awakening will coincide with the resurrection of Lilith and usher in the time of the Covenant. It's crucial that the necessary rites be performed by then, for the sake of the Human Instrumentality Project.
I am aware of this. I assure you that all will go according to Satan's plan. The true Evangelion.
I think hamburgers and cheeseburgers work well with fries.
I guess building heaven on earth involves a lot more drone strikes than I was anticipating, but I guess that's why they're in charge and not me. If there is no absolute by which to judge society, then society itself is absolute. That's why some people do whatever they can to change society and how it operates. But can we change our nature? Can we even understand it? Psychology has made an attempt, but is there anything in there that can teach us how to stop hurting one another? I don't think there is. Even if it was a 100% exhausted field with nothing left to learn, and everyone in the world from professors at universities to average country children knew it as well as they knew anything, there would still be evil. Just like how there aren't any laws the government can pass that can actually stop crime. So, what can you hold on to that will transcend the suffering? How do you navigate through all the deception and the psyops? Do you just jump in, no thoughts, head empty, unga-bunga your way through life's difficulties? You might be able to get past some of the agencies, bureaus, counselors, and federations full of their agents, bureaucrats, counselors, and feds, but those are just the henchmen. You're not ready to face the bosses. You can try, but at what cost? You might start laughing uncontrollably at things other people just don't get.
What's so funny?
Just think
It means you are a far right authorization on alternative. Oh my God!
You want to tell it to me?
you will get it.
Goy, idiot, stupid, wrong, dumb, goy, dumb like all of them, goy.
What a room this is, huh? Look at this room. Everyone is here tonight. We've got politicians, huh? We've got the media, we've got celebrities, basically anyone who's been to Jeffrey Epstein's island. This is an exclusive event.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you haven't, if you're paying attention to the way our current regime works, but molesting kids is not nearly as great of an offense as calling out Jews. It seems. It seems like there's a lot more is going to come down on you for the latter than the former.
And don't
I
call out
know.
the Jews for molesting kids. That's for sure not a good idea.
You definitely don't want to. Then you might be in trouble.
Well, well, well. Look what the cat dragged in. How have you been?
I'm okay, I guess.
Yeah? Well, hey, us boys are just chilling out in the jacuzzi. You wanna hop in? The water and boys feels fabulous.
Bro, we have transcended living in a society. We are now in an absolute state. Get it? Orwellian humor? 1984, am I right? I feel like most people I know get that on a surface level. But again, what, if any, truth can you still hold on to and trust in? Is it what your parents handed down to you? If you're lucky, they gave you some good stuff, but I'm guessing you had to figure out some stuff for yourself. Who do you listen to? Who's your online father figure? Or are you just as foggless here as you are in real life? Did you find the correct alpha male to give your money to? Take a course in an attempt to find some superhuman skill that lets you overcome your perpetual shortcomings? Life's complicated, and there's always going to be someone with a nicer car and more knowledge. Always going to be some kind of an ascended master of douchebaggery that's going to come along and kick you in the nuts. What do you do about that? Rage out every time it happens? Or do you become like a Shaolin monk and through discipline learn how to endure life's suffering? Now, perhaps you're a rigorous intellectual who studies all the important issues for yourself. Or maybe you're just an NPC with no internal dialogue and you're now mad at me for pointing this out. What team are you on? Who are you voting for? Who's your favorite waifu? We're in a culture war, bro. Which way, Western man? We're at a crossroads about to make a deal with the devil, and I get it, man. People want to be part of something bigger than themselves. No man is an island and the bell tolls for thee. I get it. Thank goodness, though, Jordan Peterson joined the Daily Wire. Now we can really go back to our Judeo-Christian roots and go all out against those postmodernists. Likewise, I'm really glad Kanye joined with Milo and Nick Fuentes. Now we can truly revert back to our Greco-Roman natural order of things.
They're afraid of us reverting back to traditionalism. And they don't want us to return to traditionalism. Return to the Greco-Roman natural order of things. Yeah, Greco-Roman moment.
Yeah, I'm down for whatever you Zoomers think is in. What, maybe lose the mustache? Grow out my beard?
You don't need to worry about getting a beard until people start noticing you never have girlfriends.
Yeah.
Yeah! Oh, hello. I'm White Goodman, owner, operator, and founder of Flobo America Corp. And I'm here to tell you that you don't have to be stuck with what you got. Because here at Flobo, we're better than you. And we know it. Barely.
You don't have to do anything or achieve anything. You don't have to study. You don't have to have a long career. You don't have to do anything positive with your life. All you got to do is suck a dick.
My name is Gay.
You know, as much as I shit on these people, I do it as someone who gets it. See, I'm not like the other schizos. I don't want to live in a totalitarian, Marxist, postmodernist hellscape of a country either. But oh well, it all gets so old, and the quest for truth can lead people down many a dark road. The world won't stop you from making a mistake just because something looks good. In fact, it often pays you better if you do. I can understand why people just sit back and enjoy the show. It can really seem like the only sane option left. The US government, in my eyes, is like a giant mecha that's somehow miraculously entirely made of shit. So you could theoretically get in it and try to pilot it, but it's fundamentally incapable of doing anything that doesn't involve smearing steaming hot turds everywhere. There's no good solution to it, and if you're going to be anywhere near it at all, you're going to have to hold your nose. You can call me un-American if you want, but I'm really not trying to clean it up. Maybe if good people became leaders instead of Epstein Island alumni, I would have a little bit more faith in our system. And you know, there was a time when I thought that the solution to political corruption could be found some way in the freedom inherent online. But leaving aside shadow banning and censorship and a myriad of other problems, internet drama and e-celebrity autism have all the same properties as an Ouroboros, minus the profundity. See, the real black pill is realizing that even if they didn't pull the strings, we would all just keep dancing. I don't know, man. You know, only idiots think that there isn't any evil. Or maybe they just think it's not them, or they don't care. I don't know, whatever. For everyone else, how do you rationalize it? Is it just those stupid people acting randomly? Is it Taoism? It's the yin to someone else's yang, right? Is it psychology? Is there something wrong with us psychologically, our shadow self, perhaps? Is it the id? Reptilians? The 1%? Them? I don't know. Like I said, I don't know who they are, but do you trust them? Do you continue to let them guide humanity towards its inevitable conclusion? After all, we still haven't had real communism. Maybe you still want to save America, though. How? Voting? Yeah, right. Do you play 5D chess and outmaneuver the establishment? Trust one of the various plans? You know, outright revolution? No, I'm not a Fed. I only bring it up because when I was younger, I did used to fantasize about different ways the system could work. What if we had shorter term limits? What if we had different regulations for this and that? What if? I still have a lot of sympathy for people who see the problems with the system and want to do something about it, but I really think the road to hell is paved with good intentions. I also think that there are worse things than dying. There's obviously being sent to hell. That would be the worst possible fate, but there's also the pain that comes from not living your life as well as you could have. Ending up homeless or addicted to drugs, leaving children to fend for themselves, or a spouse in distress. You could die before your parents and they could never be the same ever again. You could leave this world in a way that hurts so many people, and I think all of those are worse than just dying.
Why am I getting carried in a boat?
Your naivete is refreshing, though I'm surprised that you honestly don't know. This is your funeral procession, Dandy.
Okay, seems legit.
A lot of people realized that the church that they grew up in had some stuff wrong. Maybe it was something really obvious, like your pastor having an affair. Maybe it was more of a gut instinct that you didn't like something. But who needs it? It only teaches people how to not think for themselves and how to be afraid, right? Besides, there are so many contradictions in the church. How come, if it is true, Christianity is so confused? Merry Christmas, by the way. I don't think it's an accident. If we listen to the doctrines of men, we'd be led to see God as mad or evil, like the Pharisees were. See, the first theosophers lived thousands of years ago. Everyone knows the ancient Greeks and Romans compared their religious ideas with the Egyptians and Babylonians that came before them, and also with the Israelites. The Old Testament is full of stories of the Israelites' idolatry. It's easy to understand what happened to the Pharisees when you listen to Jordan Peterson. Maybe the Bible is only part of the answer. I mean, look at all those hierarchies. The Israelites wanted to be like all the other nations, and they wanted Jesus to be a conquering warlord. They envied the worldly power of the Romans, and, they thought maybe Yahweh actually is Saturn, and maybe he likes it better when you worship him this way. Over time, it stuck, and here we are today with the Sabbath day being called Saturday, and the false Sabbath being called Sunday. It's the sun god versus the death god. Oh man, have we talked about this before?
Do you accept your demise now? As you've noticed, this is a planet of the dead, so you'll fit right in. Come on. You're the man of the hour. It's time to make merry and trip the light fantastic.
Make merry?
Right. There's nothing to lose here because you are already dead. It's a world where sadness doesn't exist.
No sadness, huh? I'd buy that for a woo-long.
Wait, no I wouldn't! You can't have happiness without sadness! They're like cousins or some junk! I ain't giving up my good times! I want to eat and drink stuff! Give me that! I'm going to boobies! You can take this funeral and shove it!
I don't mean to sound overly pessimistic. I absolutely am about the political situation and about the spiritual wickedness in high places, but I still like it here. I still think America is the land where large numbers of Protestants came wanting to worship God in peace. Were a lot of them slave owners and Freemasons, and worst of all, British? Yeah, and it really is a shame about that. But I think that despite that, God still blessed this country with prosperity we can experience today. Despite how quickly everything is falling apart, we still have it pretty good. I love my family and my friends, and I don't want to move to any other country. America is a beautifully unique experiment that ultimately failed. It can and should be understood, but not lied about or propped up. But, if you've ever listened to political talk for any length of time, you've probably heard the phrase, politics are downstream from culture. That's why we're in a culture war, after all. But what makes up our culture? They never tell you that part. I think it's art. Also, what is culture downstream from? I think it's pretty obviously religion. So you could say that, politics is downstream from culture, which is downstream from art, which is downstream from religion. People look for meaning in lives that they're told don't have any. So why not strive for something of aesthetic beauty? Something that might live on after your death and bring people together and provide happiness or, whatever emotion it was that I felt while reading Berserk. The philosopher and notorious tooter of his own horn, William Blake, once said that Adam and Eve's only real sin was shunning that divine creative spark within them.
Blake's idea of the fall is different from Christianity, which understands the fall of man as Adam and Eve's disobedience of God's command not to eat of the fruit of the tree of knowledge. Blake understands the fall as caused by us human beings, by our lack of imaginative freedom.
Let me ask you this. What's your favorite piece of art? It might not be a painting, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say that you probably have a favorite show or a band or movie. Whatever it is it something God approves of? Maybe it's a gospel record or a Gustave Doré painting, but even then, I bet there's something in your life you appreciate that's kind of a guilty pleasure. Are you a Christian but you really like FromSoft games? Does that not clash with your beliefs in some kind of a way? Or are you an American First groiper that only listens to Kanye West and watches Neon Genesis Evangelion? In which case, I'm sure you experience no cognitive dissonance whatsoever. I'm not bringing this up just to dunk on Nick. My point is that there's a lot of art I appreciate that I think has the exact wrong message. I'm often able to separate the art from the artist, but sometimes that's a lot harder. Ask me what I think about The Lord of the Rings, for example. I couldn't make a review long enough. But if I somehow did, to most people, all they would hear is, oh, he didn't like it. To me, art isn't divine. It can't save us, but man, it can be really good. My favorite musician is this guy named Nathan Jarvis, or just Jarv. Why do I like this guy? Look at him, he's wearing a pentagram, and he's a liberal. Oh man. Well, aside from the fact I think we look kind of similar, I really respect the fact that he makes his own beats and writes all of his own lyrics. I don't know how much you guys know about hip-hop, but that's getting rarer and rarer. He isn't signed and he's still pretty unknown, but he really is trying to make good music. I can relate to wanting to spend all your time working on a passion project that not many people are going to hear and even less are going to care about, but having the drive to do it anyway because someone out there is going to appreciate it. Plus, there's something about remixing and sampling other songs and random bits of audio I really like. I don't know if you guys have noticed that.
One of the first times I remember like rapping fast was I was listening to, like I had a little mix CD and I had Break Your Neck by Busta Rhymes. And I could like keep up with it, but even if I wasn't saying all the right words. And then, but after that, one of like the first songs I really like learned on guitar was there's this like punk band called Operation Ivy.
Oh yeah.
Who became, they branched off and became like Rancid, some of the members, and then some of the other members formed this band called Common Rider. And they have this one song called like Classics of Love. The dude's kind of like spitting some shit, like he's like I was sitting and thinking of all the beautiful things it could have become, like some like fast shit. And I remember like learning that like word for word, and like playing it on guitar and being like, damn, this shit like sounds dope, like, and that totally carried into to like my rap shit for sure.
Yo, check it out, yo. Yo, I've been up in it a minute and now I'm beginning to lose my patience. But that on me, that I'll in any way be reconsidering my vocation. I'm doing it because I love it, and buddy, that bit ain't about to be changing. But once in a while I just need a reminder that time I've already made it. When thinking about all the people that's living in terrible situations, I'm reminded I gotta be thankful I don't gotta be getting all the praises. Everyone can't be on top of the planet, and damn it, I can't be complaining. Maintaining an underground haven and taking the time I'll be taking a page and making it mine. I'm fine, it's the limelight's guidance. I'll design my finest lines with the fires of applied science. Fly shit coming from inside your box, busting out of the center of my skull and crossbones flow be disgusting, and they buy it and get all the credit. My homie recognized it and said it, man, these lines taste like escargot. What a shocker, I probably ought to cop a rocket launcher and then pop off at all of those armed imposters. But then again, fuck it, I forget about it and keep it moving. Killing this music, showing and proving, building a movement, skills improving. With every rhyme I write, kid, it's the sleeping giant, keeping these MCs quiet, yo.
Can't say shit about this hip-hop. Can't say shit about this hip-hop.
They just
can't say shit about this hip-hop. Can't say shit about this hip-hop.
Once in a while I can remember the day when I began this rapping, and what I was feeling inside of my brain, and what it was ended up happening. I can remember the weather, the way that the room had been decorated, and the grade I was in, what was on television, the color of ink and the pen I was grasping. Blue, who would've knew I just stumbled upon this eternal method of putting my heart and my soul in the rhythm by flipping these words, yo. I couldn't even begin to imagine the feeling that Baby John would've been having if he didn't know when he got older he'd pick up a mic and ignite it and burn. Oh, I remember the journal, and now when I got it I thought it was girl shit. It was a holiday gift and I thought to myself, what I do to deserve this? I want a video game and a mini bike, you really don't have a clue what it did. Well, like I wanna do anything with this shit, and right, it really doesn't seem worth it. Perfect, it sat in itself, it was submerged in, waiting to be unearthed. It seems simple on the surface, but thinking about it I can't even fathom how different it all would have been if I never had opened it up at a boredom. I picked up a pen and was given a purpose.
I'm a high roller, I crush you like a boulder, suck it but way cool, man. You so stupid, seems like you never even went to school. Fool, what you trying to do?
Can't say shit about this hip-hop. Can't say shit about this hip-hop. Can't say shit about this hip-hop. Can't say shit about this hip-hop.
But, why does any of this matter, you might be asking? I'm a Christian, and I believe in Jesus. I go to church. Isn't that enough? Why do I have to look so deep into everything? You could take things as they are on the surface level, but that's not what Jesus commands us to do. There's this old saying about staying on the straight and narrow. That's derived from one of my favorite verses, Matthew 7:14. Straight is the path, and narrow is the way that leadeth unto life, and few there be that find it. The word narrow is actually the Greek word thalibo, and it can also mean afflicted or suffering. So it's the straight and narrow path that is full of suffering and affliction. And that's consistent with the rest of the biblical message, that those that suffer in Christ's name are blessed, and that he's not come to bring peace, but come to divide men against one another. I know a lot of people who enjoy New Age spirituality, and part of me wishes I could just leave them alone about it. We're supposed to have the wisdom of serpents, but be as harmless as doves. And I pray I've done both of those today. But maybe I overwhelmed you, and I'm sorry about that. Life can be overwhelming. But that's the beauty of true Christianity. It's not about us being perfect. Christ already was. You can be as deep into the left-hand path as possible, and the blood of Christ will still clean you. It'll make you more righteous and acceptable to God than any fraternal order ever could. There's been a line of eccentric, eclectic occultists that have studied each other's work throughout the ages, a tradition and canon that can be traced back through some of the most famous in their ranks, stretches back to the mystery schools of Babylon and Egypt, and includes people like Pythagoras and Plato, Aristotle and Socrates, and that connects William Blake and the Freemasonic founders of America with Helena Blavatsky, Terence McKenna, and Carl Jung. It's not about studying any of them or understanding astrology, numerology, psychology, alchemy, atheism, paganism, Gnosticism, shamanism. All those things do have power, but from where? It's no simple thing to figure out which doctrine is correct. The winds of doctrine are very real, and parsing through them to try to find the truth is almost impossible. But I really do think that if you seek, you will find. If you knock, it will be opened unto you. I think God is patiently waiting for us to ask about him. In the meantime, Satan has set up a whole carnival for you to come and watch, and is trying to confuse everyone. It's honestly what drew me back into the faith. I could tell that there wasn't a more concerted effort to push or dissuade people away from anything. I just got really tired of seeing the Hegelian dialectic everywhere. It's really cool and all, but do you have anything else? Does everything have to have some kind of a wink or a nod in it? It's all the left-handed path, even if it's dressed up in Christian clothing. Same as politics. The left-hand path is the one that looks more dark, but is more fun. And the right is the harder path that probably brings about more of a prosperous way of living outwardly. But in the end, it's salvation by works and not by faith. No matter which hand you pick, both of them belong to Satan. Should you read up on this stuff, become learned and individuate and make something beautiful? Yeah, I think so. But not everyone can, and God is merciful enough that Jesus can save you even if you're a normie, even if you don't understand symbolism or any of what I've been talking about. If you have faith in his son, I believe God winks at your ignorance. So again, if God winks at our ignorance, and we're blown about by the winds of doctrine, and there are wolves in sheep's clothing everywhere, then why does it matter? Just believe in Jesus and try your best and call it a day. Well, have you heard of the 144,000? It's this group that are only mentioned a handful of times in the book of Revelation. Essentially, they are the alpha Christians, the ones who really do get it. They follow the Lamb wherever he goes, and they will be the group of people who actually do conquer sin in the flesh, this side of the grave. Obviously with Jesus' help and by faith, but, that's not a requirement for everyone. That's just the elite of Christians. Jesus is in heaven right now, preparing a place for all of those who are faithful to him. I know a lot of people think heaven is a state of mind and Christ is just a level of consciousness. A lot of people think that it's a completely metaphorical or spiritual place. They don't think God has a physical body or an actual throne, but he has both, and we'll be able to see his face one day. We'll spend 1,000 years in the city of God, New Jerusalem, before it comes down to the new earth, and Eden will be restored and completed. I can't think of a more beautiful picture, because I literally don't think there is one. Our king will be there, a human with holes in his hands and feet, ruling from the throne of his father David. He wants us to be like him, but that will mean having the world hate us. It will mean a baptism by fire for the 144,000. Whether you believe it's a literal or symbolic number, that's the group I want to be a part of. We're going to be able to sing a unique song in heaven. And I think it's unique because we'll be able to see the worst Satan has to put us through. And we'll get through it with the help of Jesus. You'll know that it was only with his spirit that you're able to triumph over sin. And then we can celebrate that for eternity. Making art, learning about nature, and dancing.
Yeah, it's the amalgam. I remember back in the day, I would play video games while I listened to this mixtape my big sis made. It had Bust a Bus, Del the Funky Homo Sapien, DMX, 2 Live Crew, and Wu-Tang. Picture me 2nd grade in my room rapping along, playing banjo and kazooie with my boombox on. Yeah, I can't forget it to this day. It played a rose-colored role in what made me this way. And then in 6th grade, I started skateboarding. And after the first day, nothing was ever the same for me. I found new music, I made new friends. Most of them quit, but shit, I wish we could do it again. I mean, we could, but that'll probably never happen. When people grow, they tend to redefine what makes them happy. But I love those days, I wouldn't be the same without them. Another chapter I have found bound in my amalgam. Now I'ma skip ahead to when I was 21, chilling at the bar, getting buzzy with my buds. MV just started rocking them shows, so I developed confidence when talking to them. Hold up, wait a minute, yo, I'ma try to keep it wholesome. I've been told that it's good for the soul, plus I'm in my mid-20s and I'm trying to show I've grown 1% less self-centered and self-indulgent. Yeah, that's quite a feat, you see. I've been an MC since I was 17, which means that I've been talking trash for years. Even to my peers, drunk battles at the castle while I'm pounding some beers. Those were the days, but these are the days too. There ain't no use living in the past, dude. You don't get to take two, make new memories. Live it and be proud, son. Add some elements to your amalgam.
It's the amalgam.
The amalgam. The amalgam. It's the amalgam.
The amalgam. The amalgam. Amalgamating.
It's the amalgam. It's the amalgam.
The amalgam.
It's the amalgam. Facets of life compound to become you. Whether or not you like the outcome, I hope it's one you're proud of. Sadly, the average person doesn't appreciate the sun until the clouds come. But such is life, everybody got a vice. Finding my relationships falling by the wayside. Growing up is hard, but you can't forget to make time. Focus on your squad so that if you shine, they shine. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get ahead. I'm trying to have some fun with my friends. I'm trying to make bread. I'm trying to break bread. I'm trying to focus on the road ahead and keep my soul in check. I know the best days are yet to come. I don't doubt there'll be dark days as well, but I don't worry about them. I hold my head high, accept the bounce to the song. Keep it on, become one with the amalgam. It's the amalgam. The amalgam, son. It's the amalgam, kid. The amalgam, a sound that I found within. It's the amalgam, son. It's the amalgam, kid. The amalgam of trials in this life I live. It's the amalgam, son. It's the amalgam, kid. The amalgam, a sound that I found within. It's the amalgam, son. It's the amalgam, kid. Living the now, you're about to dream big.